Hi, my name is Chloe England. I'm a GCU dancer, and this is my story. Although I had a great family and a great church, my high school was a train wreck. I hated high school from the second I went in. I mean, it is nothing like High School Musical. It was terrible. I hated it. Up until my second semester of senior year, I was asking my parents constantly to switch me to a different school because I was not their poster kid at all. I didn't feel like I fit in at all. I wasn't friends with the right people, and I didn't do this extracurricular activity, and I didn't want to go to this school, and I couldn't afford to go to this school. And I was a circle in a square world. It was not working out for me, and I felt completely alone, abandoned, and that's when I started to question things. I tried to fit in my freshman year. I felt like I did a good job. I was a kiss up. I was friends with super nice, sweet girls. And then my sophomore year, I decided instead of wearing dresses every day, I was gonna chop off my hair, and I was gonna get some spiky little layers and wear dark makeup every day. And I never touched dresses ever again, and I never wore a ribbon in my hair ever again. I wore black clothing and purple lipstick every day, and I rolled up first day of sophomore year and was like, this is me. I'm back, better than ever. So it was definitely a change, and it was all because I met a boy who was not very good. So a little bit about the boy. He was cute. He was a really cute guy. I don't believe in love at first sight, but I do believe in like at first sight. I walked in freshman year and I was like, hello, he's so cute. He was bald freshman year, but he was still cute, so I don't know what was happening with that one, but he was. He was funny and charismatic, and he was like that guy that you wanted to hate because he would say like weird things, but it was like so funny that you had to laugh, even though you didn't want to, if that makes sense. So he was just, he was a bundle of fun, and he was athletic. He was in football and wrestling, and he did all the sports, and I was a cheerleader at the time. He just kind of became my idol in a way. It was weird and obsessive, and I would like see him, and I noticed that he liked to drink and he liked to smoke and party, and although those were not things I wanted to do, I wanted to at least look like I was cool with it. Like, oh, you do those things? Like, yeah, it's fine, like, dope, cool. I don't know, I didn't want to do those things, and I thankfully didn't ever, but I at least wanted to look like I was like good with that. Like, yeah, that's so cool that you do that, and yeah, I like that. But I didn't, and he didn't like that I dressed like Ariana Grande basically for a hot second. I mean, I only wore dresses, I only wore like curls in my hair, and I just looked very cutesy. And he was always like, you look like a doll. And I was like, well, I'm not about to look like a doll anymore. So I had long, super long hair, and I chopped it all off, and I got rid of all my clothes. Like I sold them all, and I was like, I don't want these dresses anymore. I don't want these little flip-flops, cutie sandals anymore. I want black clothing. So I went and I got a whole new wardrobe. I was like a whole new me. And that worked for a bit. It got his attention, and he was like, oh, like, who is this new Chloe? And I was like, yeah, good, like, it's working, until he got bored. And then it was like, okay, so she did change up her hair a bit, and she did make her clothing look a little bit more cool, but she's still too nice. And so I left a group of friends that were considered too nice, and like they were kind of like the kiss up group. And I left, I made new friends, and I was like, okay, if you don't like the old friends I was hanging out with, then I'll hang out with new people. And I started not doing my homework because he didn't do his homework, and I didn't study for tests because he didn't study for tests, and I started to become like him. Like, my identity was so deeply rooted in him that I became like him. And it's crazy what you put your identity into because you grow from that. So if it's in Christ, you're gonna look like Christ. But if it's in a boy, you're gonna look like him, and that's a dangerous path. So for me, it's just a train wreck. I just started to become less and less Chloe and more him, which was not what I wanted to be. I just didn't know it yet. So, I mean, sophomore year, it started off kind of okay-ish, but then as the year progressed, it just got worse and worse and worse. And at the end of the year, I didn't have a phone. My parents made me delete my Instagram, which was heartbreaking for a young 16-year-old. I wasn't allowed to drive, even though I just got my license. I was really disappointed about that. And my summer looked like lockdown mode. I was not allowed anywhere. I mean, it was intense. And so my parents they just had to do what was best for me, even though I couldn't do what was best for me. So looking back on it, took me a good 2 years. So if you're in the middle of this right now, it's hard. I really understand that. And I'm not gonna say it was easy at all. It took me 2 years to look back on it and say that was the right call, and thank you, Mom and Dad. But yeah, it was rough. My summer was isolated, and I spend every summer for about 2 weeks in my favorite place called Hume Lake. It's in rural Southern California. It's in the mountains. You have no cell service, and it's just blue skies and a Christian environment that I always felt like I could really take a breath of fresh air there. And so, I mean, it was after summer camp, after I went to Hume, my favorite spot, and I still was like, this Jesus guy is not for me. I'm not interested. But on our way back from that trip, I got to stop off at my other grandparents. They live in Coronado, California, and I asked my parents if I could stay there for like a week, and they actually said yes, which was shocking. I didn't think that they would ever say yes to something like that at this stage in the game, but I mean, God really works. So they let me stay, and that whole week I was by myself, and I contemplated Jesus, and I contemplated everything that I had been taught, and I was like, if I want a way out, this is my way out, because I had been brought to that point of complete and utter surrender. I had to. I mean, I was on my knees. I was a wreck. So it was just life going downhill very quickly, and I felt like I couldn't stop myself. But in the middle of my fall, God caught me, and He was taking me home, and it was definitely a place I'd never been before. I mean, I had gotten baptized my sophomore year to get my parents off my back. Like, that's horrible. And I just knew at that point that it was over for me, and I was losing the game that I was trying to play. And this guy tried to come back in my life one more time, and I was like, you know what? No. If the guy tries to come back, say no. It's not a good idea. Don't do it. But I mean, I had to stop. I had to find a way out, and Jesus is always the answer. He came in and He completely flipped my life around. He did take a dead heart and bring it to life, and He did take what was lost and call it found. And I mean, that's me. That's me. I was lost, and now I'm found. And I came home from that trip, and my mom was like, what happened there? And I mean, she at first was like, okay, this is another baptism spook. Like, you're just trying to really sell this bit. But it was true. And just because my heart changed did not mean my circumstances changed. I mean, I was still on lockdown, even though I loved Jesus, and I was still struggling with friendships, even though I loved Jesus. And my junior year was not a fun year, but God was there with me, and that was what made it totally different. It was a different experience because I had to rely so heavily on Christ, on family, on my church. And even when people I thought were going to be with me for the rest of my life and really nurture a friendship with left, God is never going to leave you, never going to forsake you, even in your darkest moments. And like, I can really speak to that. There are dark moments in high school, but God is really going to come through, and He's going to redeem you, but you have to let Him. You have to lean on Him, and you have to ask. I mean, you have to ask. So, yeah. Today, I still get to remind myself every day that I am chosen, and I am redeemed, and I am a child of God, and I am beautiful because He made me beautiful, and He made me in His image, and that is what makes me me today. And it's still a struggle. I mean, every day you have to wake up and you have to remind yourself of truth, who you are, and clothe yourself in strength and dignity every day, ladies, but it's a struggle worth fighting for. And so I just want to encourage you that even you have uncertainty in your life, you get to fight through that, and you get to be who you are and be who God made you to be, because that's the coolest thing you can be. Thank you so much for listening to my story. Unfortunately, not all stories get to end like mine. It is the job of Girl Above to talk about mental health, whether it be anxiety, depression, eating disorders, or suicidal thoughts. And in order for us to continue doing what we're doing, we need you to financially support. So go to girlabove.com to donate today.